Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show. All right, what's going on, Sixers fans? Welcome to another episode of Planet 76 podcast. I am one of your hosts for the show. My name's Troy. This is episode 169 of the podcast. First one in a little bit. And just wanted to record something quick, get something out on the current state of the 76ers right now. But our podcast is available everywhere you get your pods: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. So thanks for joining in. If this is your 169th time or your first time, we're glad you are with us. Sixers currently sitting at 15-22 on the season, and it's been an interesting stretch of games since Christmas time. We're recording episode 169 on Monday, January 13th, but over these last couple weeks since Christmas and into the new year, Sixers were on the West Coast road trip where they won a couple and lost a couple. And, really, I think the title for this episode is just injuries and L's, because the Sixers have been taking some and they've been beat up quite a bit. At the beginning of the season, it was really, Joel Embiid and Paul George and even Maxey missing some time. But now everybody else is thrown into that mix as well. Sixers now coming off of back-to-back losses to New Orleans and Orlando. New Orleans has struggled all season, and Sixers really, that was one of the worst performances of the season so far. Just could not get the job done. Lost to New Orleans at home, and then went on the road with Orlando. Pretty good game, tightly contested last night, Sunday night, but Sixers did fall 104-99. Tyrese Maxey and Paul George both did their part in that one. Maxey finished with 29, and Paul George finished with a near triple-double. He had 25, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists on 5 of 8 from three-point territory as well. He did foul out because he was really starting to, a couple straight times down the floor, just getting some tough buckets and, either putting the Sixers within striking distance or giving them a slight lead down the stretch in the fourth. But then he fouled out, and things changed for the Sixers, who again lost 104-99 against Orlando. But to recap some of that stretch out west, and just in a couple recent weeks, Sixers got the win against Boston on Christmas Day, then beat Utah and Portland, then fell to Sacramento in an ugly one where the Sixers just collapsed down the stretch. Sacramento ended the game on like a double-digit to 0 run. It was crazy, where the Sixers lost. Then they got beat down against Golden State, and recently their only 2 wins are against Brooklyn and Washington. And in that mix, they have losses against Phoenix, New Orleans, and Orlando. So the only wins as of late are against Brooklyn and Washington. Not ideal. We know the Sixers have beat up on the Charlotte Hornets this year too, so if they could just play those 3 teams all year, it'd be great. But that's not the case, and so Sixers have had some struggles as of late. They're again now 7 under 500. A couple times this season they did get back to within 4 of 500. They were 13-17 at one point, and then 15-20 back a week ago after that win against Washington, but have now lost 2 straight to put them where they're at right now, present day. And again, that other key word that I mentioned was injuries, because the Sixers have had to deal with a lot this season, and it's been notable even as of late. So to name a few, Embiid hasn't played in a little bit. He's been out. Caleb Martin has been out a little bit. He's currently listed as day-to-day. Andre Drummond's missed some time. Kyle Lowry's missed time over the last couple weeks. Jared McCain obviously ruled out for the season. We knew that. KJ Martin's been out for a few weeks. Everybody's gotten it. Everybody's gotten this injury bug, and outside of Tyrese Maxey and Gershon lately, because Kelly Oubre's missed time as well. So, you know, when you take into consideration again, Maxi's out there, Gershon's out there, Paul George has been out there for the most part recently, but outside of that, both Martins have missed time. Kelly Oubre's missed some time. He's back healthy now. Andre Drummond's been out for quite a little while. Embiid's still missing time. I mentioned Lowry. He's been out. So Sixers are having to play some guys that really you didn't think coming into the season they were going to have to play. Obviously most recently in last night's matchup with the Magic, you have guys like Justin Edwards playing 24 minutes, Adem Bona playing 15 minutes, Reggie Jackson played, Jeff Doughton got a little time, Ricky Council got a little time, Eric Gordon was inserted into the starting lineup, or he got 14. But yeah, I mean, these injuries have been something else right now, and Sixers can't seem to shake it. And so we're sitting now mid-January, and we really don't know the kind of team that the Sixers are still. We feel like Michael and I have been saying that since the season began because it's just true. There hasn't been a game yet where it's like, all right, this is our best against your best, and let's see how the Sixers fare. Because there's still a big reason to be confident, I think, in this team based on what the roster looks like on paper, and it just hasn't come to be yet because of these injuries that they've been faced with. And again, it's transferred now from the star players to the rotation players. And so even with Paul George and Maxey and Embiid hopefully getting back soon, you still got to get those other guys back into the fold and see how they fare together. The last thing, again, kind of a quick episode again, episode 169, but the last thing I wanted to touch on was the aforementioned Paul George, who has had his fair share of struggles in a Sixers uniform, and has taken his fair share of heat, that's for sure. He's averaging just under 17 points a game so far in a Sixers uniform, which is his lowest output in quite some time, since the beginning stages of his career when he wasn't even a full-time starter, his first few years in Indiana. But he has struggled. Again, he's coming off a pretty good game against Orlando last night, and even at 25, I think the game before against New Orleans. But man, he's catching some heat. And I'll say this, I think some of it is deserved. He has not played up to the standard that we've come to know and expect when it comes to a player of his caliber. But then some of it isn't, because he's still putting out some games that, it's still Paul George. You look at his recent games, his last 6 games alone, he has 3 games of 25 or more, including the last 2 where he had 25. He had 30 points against Sacramento, that game that the Sixers gave away. But I think the reason he's getting some heat, getting so much heat, is because those games on the other end of the spectrum have been bad. His shooting percentage as a whole is down. He's down around 42%, which is not really where you want it. He's taking a lot of tough shots. I saw someone in Sixers media post yesterday that Paul George just seemingly continues to take tough shot after tough shot, and that's true. He's not getting to the rim as much, not getting as many open looks. He's taking tough twos, tough fadeaways, which he's more than capable of knocking down, but you would like to see him get some easy baskets, and he just isn't at the moment as much as you would like to see. And it's showing in the box score. It's showing in his field goal percentage so far this season. But I think the biggest issue, it's not like he hasn't had some good games in a Sixers uniform. I mean, he's played well at times. He's had games of 30. He's had games in the upper 20s. He's had his moments, and he's had his moments where he's been very efficient. But I think it's just the bad, if you can say it this way, is kind of outweighing the good right now, in the sense that he'll have a night where he goes 4 for 15. He'll have a night where he goes 2 for 12. He'll have a night, where he just really struggles from the field, and those games are getting more recognition right now than the games where he goes out and drops 25 on 55% from the floor. So that's the thing with Paul George right now, is it's a wide range of really good and really bad. And if that really bad can just come up a little bit to his worst games, just him not shooting particularly well and scoring 15, but shooting 40% rather than 12%, is going to make a big difference. So that's what we really need to see Paul George. We don't need him to come out and score 25 a night. It's possible that with this move to Philadelphia, he's not going to reach numbers of 22, 23, 24 points a game anymore, because he's now sitting behind Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey as far as, where scoring production is going to come from. It would be nice to see it tick up again near 20. I think he's certainly more than capable of doing that. He knows he's more capable, is capable of more than 16 points a game. But again, he just needs to, one, search for better looks. Paul George, Nick Nurse needs to find him some better looks where he can be efficient. And then, the good needs to start outweighing the bad, in the sense that these nights where he shoots so poorly from the floor because of taking so many tough shots, that needs to stop. So that's the thing with Paul George. I think some of it, again, is warranted, but some of it's not. He's we shouldn't come out here and expect him to be a 30-point per game scorer. He's still averaging 6 boards and almost 5 assists a game. So just need a little more consistency as far as what that production is going to look like, especially consistency and efficiency from the floor, I think is really the biggest need. He's not washed. He's not done. It's not over. He still has games where it's like, yep, that's Paul George. But those just need to happen a little more frequently, I think. And hopefully Sixers World, Sixers media will recognize that as well. He hasn't been awful. It's not time to blow it up. It's not time to trade him. It's none of that. In my opinion, it's just an efficiency thing. So that's it with Paul George. We'll just look at the Sixers' upcoming schedule real quick. Again, Monday, January 13th, recording episode 169. The Oklahoma City Thunder do come to town tomorrow night. Should be a good atmosphere inside the Wells Fargo Center. The 32-6 Oklahoma City Thunder, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And then Wednesday night, Sixers are at home again to host the New York Knicks. So a couple really good teams coming to town before the Sixers hit the road for 3 against Indiana, Milwaukee, and Denver as we get into early next week. So not an easy stretch of games by any means for the Sixers. We'll see what Joel Embiid's status is. He was questionable last night against Orlando, but did not play. I'm sure we'll see him in action in one of these matchups, Tuesday or Wednesday against Oklahoma City or the New York Knicks. So we'll see what the Sixers can do. Again, got to get healthy. Got to start winning some games. It's mid-January now. They got to start taking care of some business, and it's going to require health. It's going to require this team who hasn't been on the floor a lot together to get on the floor to build chemistry with their stars and see what they can do moving forward. So Sixers, again, currently sitting at 15-22 in the Eastern Conference. Where that puts them is just outside the play-in by 2 games right now. So lots of time to go, obviously, for the Sixers to right the ship. And we will just have to see what happens over the course of the coming days and weeks. But this is episode 169 of Planet 76. We'll see you next time. You just listened to an episode of the Planet 76 podcast. Hey, we appreciate you joining us for this episode. Whatever platform you're on, why don't you hit that subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next time.